Welcome to the October 19th, 2017 regular meeting of the Piqua City School Board of Education. I would ask everybody to please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the treasurer call the roll, please?
Mr. Luby.
Here.
Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Gregerson.
Here.
Mr. Patrizio.
Here. We have 2 minutes that need to be approved. The first is the September 28th, 2017 regular meeting, and then the October 3rd, 2017 emergency meeting. Does anybody have any additions or deletions from the minutes that have been proposed? I would ask then for a motion to approve the minutes.
So move. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we have the approval of the agenda. I ask everybody to review the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions to that? Having none, I ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Luby or Mr. Height, which one of you has the report
Just
tonight?
real brief, I just got back. We had a meeting tonight of the fall meeting of the advisory committee meeting for all of the different programs at the Career Center. And if you're familiar with the building, the auditorium of the theater area was filled and spilling back into the cafeteria. There's, I don't know how many people are involved in the advisory committees, but it's neat to see from the whole district, from Shelby County and Miami County, the people that are involved in advising different programs. And it's fun to watch. We had one of the things they talked about tonight was there's 40 different companies that are involved with our apprenticeship program with 60 students, and those 60 students that are working as apprentices, their combined payroll is $1 million this year. So there are good things going on there. That's my quick report.
Yeah, I think that apprentice program's really a nice thing to have.
And we've got a lot of
there.
international attention too. We're sending students to Germany here coming up pretty shortly to share about our apprentice program over
Is
there.
there something, I know we have a relationship with the career centers, or something we can do to promote that more with some of the students that are freshmen and sophomore in our...
And in the 6th of December is their open house for the kids, students, sophomores, to go look at the different careers. So it's a good opportunity to look. And right now, this year, we've got 900 students on main campus. That's the most they've had for a long time. And if you look at the students involved in the satellite programs around the district, we touch over 3,000 kids.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll move on to the hearing of the public on the agenda items. I haven't had any requests for anybody to speak, so having none, I'll move on to the treasurer's agenda.
Good evening. All the reports were attached. Were there any questions about those?
And one report that I saw on the computer the other day still wasn't corrected.
Okay.
Want to correct that on the 3-year comparison.
Okay. Tonight is also the October meeting, so we do have the 5-year forecast. That information was in the board agenda. One of the things that I wanted to, there's 3 principles tonight basically we're going to talk about with a 5-year forecast. The first one of those is the importance of maintaining our current funding levels. And one of those key components that this forecast was derived off of was passing our renewal levy that's coming up on November 7th and open. You can vote now. People are doing early voting, and that's a key component to this forecast. So what you're looking at is making the assumption that the levy will be renewed on November 7th. If not, we'll get you an updated forecast to that extent. But it's essential that the levy would pass to be able to maintain our current standard funding levels and be able to continue to provide our academic programming to our students. The other thing is that we'll need to continue examining our expenses, as we always do. We bring you updates regularly on how we try to find efficiencies and opportunities, and making sure that the taxpayers don't need to be asked for additional money, that we continue to live within our means. We've successfully completed 10 years in the black, and we've been trying to do that and stay and keep our budgets in line and keep our spending under our revenues. So we've been successful with that. And the good news is with that forecast is that it shows that we're stable for the next 3 years. So as long as a lot of unforeseen circumstances, which I'm going to touch upon, don't happen, we're going to be okay. And that's the reason why, at this point, that I'm pretty happy and confident that our finances are sound moving forward. So what are some of those headwinds that I'm thinking of? Well, we're going to have a new governor. Kasich is term limited, so somebody new is going to be sitting in the governor's mansion making decisions, and one of those always has to be about education. There's already some bills that have cropped up about deregulating and changing school district rules and charter school rules and all those kind of things, so those can all have an impact on us. So it'll just be interesting to see as we move forward what happens. That's when you look at that 5-year forecast out beyond year 3, it does go into deficit spending because we just don't know what that's going to look like. It's hard to really predict that far out, considering we only have a biennial budget, a 2-year budget from the state. We're in year 1 of 2. So once you get beyond year 3, it's really hard to know exactly for sure what you're going to be up against. The other thing is the change in formulas. It seems like every 2 years we get a new funding formula, and so it's really hard to predict. And one of the biggest things that I see that could impact the district is the change in CAUV values. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but the idea is that when farmland prices go up, then rural districts look like they're more wealthy, and then when farm prices go down, rural districts look like they're less wealthy. And so there's a factor that's attached to every school district as far as what the community can afford, and that factor ends up changing. And so that factor could end up, with crop prices going down and CAUV values changing, we could see ourselves getting flipped into that. So it's just one of those things that could potentially happen. And the other big thing, and I'm working on this currently, is health insurance. As everyone knows and they see in the TV, President Trump just signed an executive order making some major changes to health insurance, and who knows what's going to happen, and so basically opened Pandora's box as far as what is health insurance going to look like in America, and it's a big expense for the district, obviously, in the health and benefits line, and that's the one factor that we obviously are going to have little control over as far as the pricing increases that could come along due to those changes that are being thrown around or not thrown around. It depends on what day it is. So just something to keep in mind, that it's another unknown. So again, we're basing it off of historical trends, but there is a lot of volatility when dealing with health insurance. So at the end of the day, we're doing what we need to do. Dwayne and I are constantly, and the board, you are obviously involved all the time in the discussions about making sure that we're doing what's best for taxpayers, doing what's best for our students, and making sure that we're providing the academic programming that we need to be providing. And we've been successful for 10 years so far as living within our means, and I think our plan is to continue doing just that. We've had great continuity from switching leadership from our predecessors, and they've set us up in a good position, and we've been continuing that forward.
Very good.
Any questions?
With health insurance, at some point in time, we've discussed in the past about possibly going to self-insure type
Correct.
program. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, anytime we deal with this Affordable Care Act, there are a lot of rules and regulations that got attached to self-funded plans. So it's one of those things where, because we are in a fully insured plan at the moment, that we don't have to follow all the regulations and all the new little nuances that are coming along, because Anthem at this point is taking care of all of those extra things. If you were self-insured, that would be putting a big burden on whoever your TPA was to be able to make sure that we're doing that. So never say never, because there's always ways to save money doing those kind of things. It just depends on the climate. And right now, it's probably not a favorable climate to switch to a self-insurance type of plan.
Any other questions?
No.
Do many people, districts you're aware of, have self-insurance?
Oh, there are multiple districts. There's some groups that are self-insured. There's like one called Swoosh that has about 8 districts that you have to be invited to be in part of that group, which means you have to have really good loss ratios, and then you can get invited into that group. There are multiple districts that do that on their own, and then there's the EPC has their own group that's self-insured as well, so EPC members can join that group and get their insurance collectively through that pool too. So there are plenty of different examples of self-insured plans. It's just sort of how you want to set it up. And our district's big enough, like if you're smaller, like an Ansonia, Missinawa, the littler ones, Covington, then it makes sort of sense to pool in with a bigger group because your group isn't large enough to sustain a self-insurance plan. But our group is large enough that we could do that if we chose to do so.
Anyone else? That, I'd ask for a motion to approve the treasurer's agenda.
So move.
Second?
The treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Gregerson.
Aye.
Mr. Height.
Aye.
Mr. Luby.
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio.
Aye. Move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. We are at Pickle Central Intermediate School tonight, and as always at our board meetings, we have the host school do an academic update, and Mr. Kaufman can think of no better place to be on his birthday than here right now giving an update. So happy birthday to you, Mr. Kaufman, and is Mr. Butler going to join you?
Yes.
Mr. Butler, why don't you come up as well?
Good evening. Welcome to Pickle Central. Just want to take a minute to thank the board for their continuous support for all that goes on here, for facilities and all that you've helped provide. I want to take a minute too to thank our staff here at Pickle Central. I will tell you they are some of the hardest working people I've ever seen. They're working hard every day to improve upon basically every little detail. And one of the things that me and Mr. Butler were talking about before tonight was that, you know, when we started this train, it was a little different than what it looks like now. And, you know, we had big problems, and now we're looking at those details because those big problems are gone. And now we're trying to just really try to, I guess, lock it in and look at the little details. So we prepared a folder for you. It's on your desk there for you to look at later. But I'm just going to hit some high points. Then Mr. Butler's going to hit on our PBIS. We're going to try to keep it academic based. There's a lot of other things going on outside of that we'd love to talk with you about at a different time. But number one, this summer we hired 10 new staff members here at Pickwa Central, which is a significant number, including almost a complete overhaul of our language arts department. And I will tell you, having gone in, the evaluation cycles have begun, and what we are seeing both from our standpoint and curriculum coming in and student services and all of that, we are very pleased with what we see out of our new folks that are in here. They are a blend of both new right out of school and some seasoned veterans that we were able to pick up from other locations. So definitely have a lot of new faces in here, and it's just continuing the culture here that Heath is going to talk to you about. Some of the other academic improvements, 4th and 5th grade ELA and math classes in the last 3 years have went from a 46 to a 52-minute to a 70-minute class period this year. We were able to get that pulled off. 6th grade ELA and math classes have jumped from the 56 minutes to a 90 double block, as we call it, time frame. And the reports that I'm getting from the math department with Eureka that we're committed to, and the ELA department that, again, he'll hit on in a second, is that we are getting deeper with students because of that extended time. It's not, you know, teach for 60 and have 30 minutes of study hall. There is something happening that's purposeful for straight 90 minutes that our kids are getting much more deeper instruction than we've ever had. So we're hoping to see some really cool results there that look on the up. So one of the other things is a full implementation of balanced literacy with literacy coaches. And I want to take a minute to thank Teresa Anderson and her work with the 2 literacy coaches from the primaries. They've come over and done a lot of training with our entire ELA department, so we're all on the same page. And I will tell you, we have 4 to 6 ELA vertical alignments, 4 to 6 math vertical alignment meetings monthly, and they are having conversations so that each grade level is on the same page, which hasn't happened up until last year. So we're kind of continuing a lot of these things from a year ago that worked. One of the things that we are nailing down right now is an RTI focus after hearing Pat Quinn that the district brought in from our last Friday's PD session. I've been in 4 classrooms just this week, and I have seen already the work that Pat Quinn put out actually in place, you know, with the way we do groupings and how we are providing individualized education for students, not only on the lower end, but also on the higher advanced end. So it's neat to see when PD works, and I know Amy Todd and her department put that together for us, and I think it was exactly what we needed to hear at this building for sure. We got additional Read 180 licenses. That's something that's continued that they also do at the junior high level to hit those struggling readers. That started day 1. Already had the training going. We started almost a month and a half earlier this year than we did a year ago. So again, additional reading time. We do Tier 1 instructional data collections, and now we have at this building our what we call the A-team, and I know you guys know who the A-team is, right? We call it the A-team or academic team. They are separate, but the A-team is our building leadership team, and they have been out collecting data inside teacher classrooms, not on individual teachers with names, but things like, you know, what's their objectives look like, and are they engaging students? And so actually tonight we had a meeting of the A-team before this, and it was neat to hear other teachers complimenting what was happening in others' classrooms and pointing out things and leaving feedback, which is so powerful. Another thing we have here, Scott Bloom, our curriculum, and with Teresa, they have started our plan book again that we had last year. So all of our lesson plans are shared with our co-teachers, both on the low and high end. That started day 1 this year, which if you pull up a lesson plan at any given time, like it's there. You know, Monday morning, they're there, they're high quality, you know, we can use those when we go in. There's no secrets about what's happening. So it's complete transparency across the board. 6th grade, we adopted IXL Math to help with our interventions. Working through finalizing our standards-based units. If you guys remember a year ago, one of the focuses was that we were teaching standards and that we were creating units based on those standards so that students got exactly what they were supposed to have. And that work has continued here. Our goal is by the end of this school year at this building to be able to say that every grade level, every content is ready to roll out standards-based units to start out the 18-19 school year. So on weeks we're not looking at data, we're looking at building standards-based units here. Our literacy committee has a new thing with literacy night. We had a literacy night not too long ago. We had over 450 people in attendance. It was standing room only in the gym. And essentially what happened there is we were able to share with parents through kind of a reading road trip, if you will. All of our language arts department teachers came in after hours and let the parents come in and sit down, and literally they got to see what read alouds look like and what word studies look like so that they could go home and help their children at home become better readers, and they could become more educated about what we do in here. And that was a huge success, and Leslie Mitchell gets all the credit for that, one of our 6th grade language arts teachers. She put all together, all the planning, and it was phenomenal. It was the day that we had the lockdown, but that night it was we ended on a very positive note, and that was so strong. We were really proud of her efforts there. Our Title I, we have 2 sections of that, servicing 4th grade, everybody coming up from the 3rd grade reading guarantee that didn't quite hit the cut. They are channeled through 2 classrooms specifically that have 3 instructors within those classrooms, and they are getting very much detailed, tailored groupings, like sections of 3 or 4 kids at a time getting focused interventions. Me and Mr. Butler have separated our leadership teams from our A-team to A-team and PBIS team, and then he took it a step further and made a PBIS Tier 2 team. And so there's actually 3 leadership groups in here right now that teachers that are working through capacity building, and some of them are working through their principalships. They are leading the charge right now in various groups, not only behavior, but also academics. So really trying to push and be elite when it comes to the expectation level. here. So on those, he'll talk a little bit more about that. Every single meeting we have is agenda-based, and every single meeting is 5-step process-based. Everything is, we have team drives everywhere that we're sharing things, we're comparing notes, and we're following the process so that we're tracking data all the time. We're not just meeting to have meetings. There's a purpose, there's a goal every single time, which is going to warrant results. Last year we went from an Elite 8 focus with our subgroup data from the report card. This year we're calling it T25, kind of taking a page out of Sean T's book, if any of you are Beachbody guys. Sean T is the guy for that, but we're taking T25, and essentially what we're asking is each team at each grade level are picking 25 students that are right there for us, that they can immediately go to interventions and spend time mentoring and getting them over the cuff, not just to pass the test, but if you're an accelerated student, we're trying to get those students up to that advanced level to get those report card points. So our goal is to have no limited students whatsoever and move everybody up one level, every single student. So we're excited about what the T25 will warrant for each of the teams. A lot of things out there right now in the Garden Tribe, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of that because it's not necessarily academic based, but I will tell you I want to thank the community for what they've done. If you haven't had a chance to go across the street and look there at Nicklin across from our school, it is a fantastic facility, and we are in the process of looking at different phases, different years of what that's going to look like and what other things we can be building upon through our partnerships with the Ohio State Master Gardeners and Miami County Parks District. Our kids love getting their hands dirty and growing their own spinach over there, and that's what's coming up. There's buds. We're super, super pumped up about that. Here soon there will be a Freedom Garden, and it's just exciting. So it's just kind of blossomed, it's grown, if you will, since its start, and the kids are reaping the benefits, which is fantastic. We have a couple of clubs, but I was going to highlight one. One of our clubs is our BFF club, run by one of our 5th grade math teachers, and essentially it's just bonding through fun and fitness. And so they're taking a group of girls and showing them how to be young ladies and being together and what it means to work out and eat right, and hopefully lead to, after school success. We will be getting the guys group up and running here very soon, and we're excited about that. Finally, we will have lots of cool things. We're going to have an entrepreneur day in the spring, bringing in a lot of our local businesses. I think we're up to 18 local businesses right now we're going to invite in this spring. We're also going to do a celebration of nations as part of the diversity committee and bring in lots of outside people to explore, run our students through basically like literacy night, where kids can be exposed to life outside of Piqua and where that long road called 75 leads to that a lot of them don't know. So we're excited about a lot of the things in place. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Butler, who is our spearhead and has done a great job as our PBIS guru, and take it away.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us talk today. I'm really excited to kind of talk about some of our behavior data. Coming from the coaching world and being a head basketball coach for 6 years, and then also working under Bill Neese in the football program, I understand what it took in the coaching aspect to the extra hours you put in that no one really notices. They only see what they see on Friday nights or Saturday nights or whatever. And when I came here, it was refreshing and enlightening to see on an administrative level our teachers and teachers throughout the district that put in that same time to make school the best experience possible, just like the coaches do. So our teachers have done a great job, and that's held over into our behavior. When we take a look at, and there's a handout in your folder of our behavior data, we take a look at a 3-month comparison. 2015, August through October, we had 136 office referrals. These are when teachers send kids to the office and write it up. Last year, we had 175 in that same time frame. This year, we are at 43. So that means all the hard work, all the extra professional development that the district's provided, all the extra techniques that teachers have learned through those professional developments, they've started to implement them into their classrooms. And that's a pretty astounding drop from 175 to 43 in 1 year. And it goes a lot of credit to our teachers who have just made that commitment that they're going to go above and beyond to make sure not only the instructional piece is on par, but PBIS, the tier 1 part that we've focused on here for the last year and a half or whatever, is really teaching kids how to behave and what our expectations are of them in the classroom, in the cafeteria, on the playground, at sporting events, and all those great things. So our teachers have done a great job with that. The train was kind of already rolling in the right direction when I got hired last year, so we didn't have to add much. One thing we did add was a Pride Buck incentive. It's kind of, some kids are good with kind of saving their tickets, and they get these tickets for showing the positive behavior, going above and beyond, helping a kid who just dropped his books, helping a teacher who may need a little extra help, with getting classroom stuff organized. So some kids are good at saving those. Other kids need it right now. They need an incentive right now. And this is what the Pride Buck kind of does, because with the Pride Buck, they can scratch it off and they can be an instant winner right away where they come, and it gives our office staff a chance to interact with those kids, give them a high five and say, hey, great job, give them a little token of our appreciation, then head back to class. So that's what the Pride Buck is all about. I grew up, in a situation where you think behavior, and you always had respect for your teachers and for your administrators and all that, and you kind of did it out of fear a little bit. And that's just an old school way of thought. And old school way of thought, when you think PBIS, you see all these, prizes and all that. And some people may think it's a little floofy or whatever. But the nuts and bolts of PBIS is when you get into tier 2 interventions. And what tier 2 interventions are is we have a committee that looks at those kids that are multiple offenders that get sent to the office on a regular basis. We use our public school works data to identify those kids, and providing specific interventions for the classroom teachers and for the school as a whole to kind of make sure that those kids are surrounded by the things they need to be surrounded by, and kind of eliminating some of the distractions that can kind of lead to problematic behavior. So I'm very happy that our Tier 2 team is rolling. We have 5 kids in our program right now who are high offenders, and we have a support system developed, and those kids this past week have started to excel. And we've had several cases where kids have gone through a perfect week and haven't had one teacher referral to the office. That's pretty amazing, and that's kind of why you get into this business, is seeing kids succeed. So that's been exciting. One new thing that came down with attendance, or with House Bill 410 a year ago, is the development of an absence intervention team. We have that in place. We've had to have an absence intervention program for 2 students. We're proud to say that we had a case this morning where a young lady who's in our program struggles. She struggles from getting to the car to the school. Our intervention team took over. They got her. They surrounded her with positive and kind of saying, hey, this is a safe place for you. She walked out of the car and came in, and that wouldn't have happened without the efforts of our absence intervention team. So another case example where something we do put into action, and it really makes you feel proud to be a Piqua Indian. Heading into some of the other stuff that Josh alluded to earlier with the literacy and all that, all our language arts teachers have received Fontes and Pinnell guided reading books, kind of getting back to that level literacy piece. All our language arts teachers have received professional development from our literacy coaches in a reading workshop. They're rolling with new ideas. They're trying stuff to make sure they're giving our kids the best experience possible on the reading aspect. Josh touched on Leslie Mitchell, who is one of our 6th grade teachers. She provided some level literacy training for our staff, which was great. Our literacy coaches have provided professional development to all our ELA teachers in Writer's Workshop and Lucy Calkins units of study. So not only are we introducing new ideas, but we're continuously providing those teachers the support they need to give their kids an outstanding experience. Our 4th and 5th grade teachers are using Words Their Way for spelling. Our 6th grade teachers are using a combination of Read 80 and Words Their Way, 2 great programs that are really helping our students excel in the reading aspect of their educations. Our 6th grade, we also, like Josh said, gained 20 minutes of instructional time because we alleviated a flex period. And our teachers, like he's also mentioned before, are providing targeted instruction. And not only is that targeted instruction providing reading skills that they need based on their need, but it's also giving teachers a great time to make relationships with their students, and that's what it's all about. And the students are trusting their teachers, and there's nothing but great things on the horizon. Some other things that are on, and Josh will touch on this, we have our Veterans Day breakfast coming up, and we also have our senior holiday breakfast coming up. So once again, thank you so much for our time. Once again, our teachers are doing a great job with the instruction piece and the behavioral piece.
All right, we threw a lot at you, I know, but I just want to say that there's a lot of energy in this school. There's a lot of energy in all of our schools, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. I would invite anybody, public included, parents, just come through the door and see. Right now, we have probably more parents on our 5th grade floor currently as I'm speaking, getting ready for a 5th grade football championship. They are up there decorating the halls and our students' lockers right now. And we are so pumped to take it to Brookville this Saturday. We're going to win that for the 5th grade. It's a big deal here. But overall, guys, there's a lot of great things that's going on here at Piqua Central, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I just have a comment. Last year, Josh, you came aboard, and I thought you did a really good job. When Heath said he was moving out of the classroom and coming here, I was going, we're losing a really good teacher. Heath, I want to say that you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I was really impressed with what you had to say tonight. I think both of you should be commended with the outstanding efforts that you're doing or giving to this building.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to add that a little bit, and Mr. Gregerson can second this fall when we had the 4th graders out at the Johnston farm. First, we saw the PBIS bucks being passed out to kids. And for 3 days, we saw a big difference in the Piqua kids this year. So, what you guys are doing in the building is paying off when the kids go outside the building. They were, 3 really good days for the Piqua kids this year. We had a good time with them.
We're very proud, and I will tell you, Heath hit the ground running from day one when he came here, and what he's done with PBIS, you will see here this month. But what's happened here is we are actually going to be awarded the bronze status at the state level, which is the highest you can do for your first year. Really excited about that, and Heath has filled every hole that was left to be filled there, and has already started towards silver status at the state level, which is significant. It's a big deal. We're going to the showcase here at the end of November in Mansfield that will be at a state conference. That's a huge deal. A lot of other things happening. We're part of a thing called Bring Your Green, and I know last board meeting we talked a lot about energy and what we're looking at potentially doing with, and right now we are part of a Dayton Green Regional Challenge in which we are sitting at the top. This building is sitting at the top of the entire region of Dayton, including the corporations and businesses, with what we're doing with the garden and the things with our gold LEED certifications and things that are here. And we're really excited to just lead the way. You guys mentioned people are starting to take notice. Other schools in the Miami County are taking notice of what's happening in Piqua. Tip City has come here to see what we're doing. They brought their leadership team here. Tomorrow I'll be at Covington. They want to know what's happening in Piqua City schools, and we are so excited to share, because at the end of the day, kids win, and that's really what we're about here. So, anything else from you guys?
Just wanted to, second what Mr. Height said. It was great to see kids come in, very orderly, very respectful. They were attentive. I mean, all the things that you ideally want kids to do, our kids did it and did a great job. I mean, we have groups come out there that I'm ready to throw kids in the canal because
We don't let him, though, because there's paperwork with that.
That's good. Yeah.
But the Piqua kids were just, I mean, they were an absolute joy to have out there. They asked good questions. They just, they were interested. They learned things, and it just, it's definitely paying off. What you guys are doing, and it's not just happening here. It's outside. It's it's definitely showing up out there. It makes you feel good.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to the staff and the students here. My 3 children come to Piqua Central, and they really love their presence here. They love their teachers and the programs, so we're really happy that they're a part of all that work that you just talked about. We do have the the levy on the ballot on November 7th, and one of the questions we are getting that I wanted to respond to was, why is it called an emergency levy? And the best way to describe that is it was passed in 2003. In 2001, at that time, the district ended their ending balance with an $856 credit to their account, and it just was not a good thing for the district at that time. So in 2003, it was an emergency levy. It was passed again in 08 and then in 15. And there are the homestead exemption acts in place for the seniors, which is a 10% discount, and then the rollback program for the property owners of a primary property, which is 2.5%. And those are grandfathered in because they no longer exist. So if we change the levy in any way, if we reduce it, or we increase it, or we change the name, or do anything to it, those grandfathered exemptions go away. So we continue to explain that we've done very well with it, well over a decade. If we can just maintain that current funding, we do a lot to try to find alternate ways to fund programs and to save dollars, and we feel like we've just really done a good job of keeping that where it is. So we don't want to go back and change anything and make those rollbacks come back onto our taxpayers. So that's why the name has stayed the way it is since 2003. So I just wanted to explain that. A lot of great things coming up next week. Next week is, we'll say tomorrow because that's what the coach is going to do. Tomorrow's game is Tip City, but next week is the Big Troy Week. Lots of great things happening. Spirit Week is going to be happening a lot of red and blue, pep rallies. The blood bank is happening, the competition between Piqua and Troy. And this year, Troy has a record of 66 wins, Piqua has a record of 66 wins, and they have 6 ties. So we are down to the wire again. Whoever wins this gets that one game ahead. It is the most played rivalry and the longest one in Ohio, so it's just a great, exciting week for everybody, I think, at the community. So I'm real excited about that. And that's my report.
We'll move on to the superintendent's agenda.
Okay, we do have, recommend the board approve the attached overnight extended trip for the Piqua High School varsity baseball team. That will be during their summer camps this summer. Recommend the board approval for the home instruction handbook. Ms. Gerhart has worked on that. Home instruction is based on medical needs that a student might have, and she was able to take board policy and put together a protocol. So each of the buildings that have a student that might need to be home instructed because of medical need, it gives a clear outline in terms of what needs to happen. So it was needed, it was a really good product, and she spent a lot of good time on that, so I appreciate that piece. Recommend board approval for the attached list of technology items for disposal and removal from the inventory of Piqua City School District. And it's true, we always say, and it is true that the technology department goes through and takes every piece that they can off of it. When you see what's left, you can't even imagine where it came from. So we're going to discard those pieces, and then recommend board approval of the attached list of donations. We had several teachers that donated some money for scholarships for students to get to go to Glen Helen, which is the 5th grade overnight camp. So I really appreciate the fact that some of our staff stepped up and made sure students were able to go to that. They funded that out of their own pockets. And then we have the Pioneer Electric and Hartsel Propeller, who donated some money for our upcoming Science Olympiad, which is always a successful program for our students. And then the John Apple Family Memorial for Piqua football, and Wings and Rings for our Piqua High School football program as well. And we really appreciate those donations for our students and programs.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions about the superintendent's agenda? And Mindy, I would like to commend you on your efforts. I understand that you worked hard on this and did a very nice job. I will motion to approve the superintendent's agenda.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lyons is out. His son is getting married. So we have the personnel agenda, and I assume
Sure.
the superintendent
Yep.
will take care of it.
It's nothing significant. I say that other than we just have a young staff and a lot of maternity. So we do have quite a few FMLAs listed here coming up that we're seeking approval for. Otherwise, we have mostly just some more substitutes coming on board. That happens throughout the year. We do have some more volunteers, and again, we appreciate the number of people that step up and offer their time with our students. So we have some of those on here to be approved as well.
Anybody have any questions about anything on the personnel agenda? Okay. Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Have a second?
Second?
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Luby,
Aye.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio.
Aye. New business, we have policy report or policy updates that number 1 and 2. It's first read for those updates. Does anybody have any questions about those? So they're the first read. We'll read those 2 more times. If you have any questions at further meetings or anything to bring up, please do so. And then we'll move on to number 3.
So we're going to recommend board approval of the Honeywell as the district's House Bill 264 Energy Service Company. You had mentioned at the last meeting that we have regular meetings with the city manager and the mayor to make sure our partnership with them is working really well. Gary Huff, the city manager, recommended that we look at some kind of projects that he's done in the past where we look at the efficiency of our buildings and the possibility of doing improvements that are necessary through that program that kind of guarantees us the way to pay those back. So we worked on getting some proposals out there to see what kind of companies were out there that could help us do this, and the best proposal that we had came back through Honeywell. We liked the integrity of their work and really felt like the recommendations that we got from people were stellar, and we really like the fact that they're going to be willing to work with local contractors in some of these projects. So I'll introduce Keith to come up at this time, and he can answer any specific questions that you might have. But our request tonight is that we get to work with them on some future necessary programs at our high school and junior high school.
Thank you for the kind words. Does anybody have any questions I might be able to answer?
I don't have any questions, but I will comment that in the meeting that I sat in with you guys, I was really impressed with how thoroughly you've gone through everything. The fact that you guarantee if we don't make the savings, you pay for it out of the company's pocket, that speaks volumes to me as to how sure you are of what you're proposing for us to do here. It's just,
Thank you.
it was just an amazing, and for somebody that doesn't understand technology, it was a...
I can't remember history.
I guess we're even then, aren't we?
We are.
You know, I was really impressed with what
Thank you.
what you did.
And we're looking forward to doing these changes. And
We are as well. I mean, the one thing I would like to mention is that, you know, just to compliment the school district, you have been very progressive in staying on top of energy. Not only just I mean, you do have the new schools, but just with the junior high and the high school. The junior high there's definitely some work to be done, but the good news is you've planned for it. You knew it was coming, and this provides a way to address it in a very cost-effective way.
Just to reiterate what he said for the public, they did a study on the efficiency of our buildings, and you could probably say it better than me, but the efficiency of our 3 new buildings far exceeded any expectation or what other schools pretty much experienced through the efficiency of their buildings. The high school's doing pretty well, and like he had indicated, the junior high school probably has our most challenges, but I think with our planning and the projects that we have over the next 5 to 10 years in mind, we believe we can address those.
Thank you for the opportunity to be considered.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, may I have a motion to approve Honeywell as the district House Bill 264 Energy Service Company?
So moved.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Honeywell's been approved. Congratulations. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the hearing of public non-agenda items. I don't have any requests at this point in time, so that means we're going to adjourn. Our next meeting is November 12th, 2017 at 11:30 in Columbus at the OSBA Capitol Conference. And after that, our next regular meeting will be November 16th, 2017 at 6 p.m. at the junior high. I would ask, I was in Troy today, and they're looking to pass a levy similar to what we did a few years ago to build these buildings. Even though we're from Piqua, if you have a chance to talk to anybody from Troy, please explain to them how good of a project this was for our district and our community. I know they're having, I think, a little bit more difficulty than we did getting this measure passed, and I would encourage anybody from Piqua, if you see somebody from Troy, tell them how great this project was for our district. Any other? Move to or adjourn.